Hello, Summer here today.
Welcome
Woohoo.
back. We are on our live stream every 12 or not 12. Is it 12? Yeah, 12 p.m. Mountain Time. 12 p.m. Mountain Time every Friday. Our Get Resource live stream in our Relational Wisdom School YouTube channel. And here we are, where we talk about everything about getting resource back to self, source, and others, all about ways of relating to ourselves, source, and others.
That's
Checking
right.
in with you, Summer. What's alive in you right now?
I'm feeling exhilarated, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, today I'm feeling exhilarated. We just got back from the gym not long ago, and I just talked to two women that are involved in the Relational Wisdom School and the overlap of them being able to support themselves in some very important work for their families and their livelihoods is like so exciting. The universe works in these magical ways that I could never even attempt to create myself. Like, wow, I'm just blown away. Blown away. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I feel exhilarated and clear and energetic. How about you?
Mm.
What's alive in you, Dre?
What's
Woohoo.
landing in me is a sense of like ease and spaciousness, despite
Ooh.
the things that are going around me right now.
Oh,
Like, there's a lot of things going on. Though I'm just noticing. It's just like, oh, I'm present with it. I'm calm with it. I'm navigating one day at a time, one step at a time. Just like our flat tire after the gym. It's like
yes, yes, we had a flat
one
tire.
thing at a
That's true.
time. And yeah, it's a nice sense of confidence in me that my nervous system capacity is able to hold that despite what's going on right now. Yeah, all the moving parts. Hmm.
Yeah. Reminds me of my favorite word, the feeling equanimous,
Mm.
feeling equally calibrated, kind of like the eye of the storm or the tornado, being able to be centered in my own nervous system as you can watch other things swirl until
Mm.
they find their place again.
Yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah.
like acceptance and just
I
landing.
actually think it's more than acceptance. It's
Mm,
more than that. Acceptance is like, oh, I'll just accept what is, but it's
mm,
actually being grateful for what
mm,
is and accepting it as a gift and like watching the magic versus what we think something is. And it could be something devastating or harmful, and we just come to acceptance of it. No, this is like, oh, this is on purpose. And I see the magic in it. And
mm,
I love it. Not
mm.
I accept it. Yeah.
Right, right, right. There's a love, an active energy with it, versus a neutral energy of it. Cool. So,
Mhm.
what are we talking about today? Well, tomorrow's Valentine's Day,
It is.
and
Yes, yes.
we are within our theme in our Facebook group. If you're not a part of it, do join Relational Wisdom Community. And this piece around relationships done differently. So, to explore
Mhm.
Valentine's Day, ways of relating, we wanted to explore the topic of dependence versus independence versus interdependence
And
and the
co
differences.
codependence.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Mm. You want to start us off with that? What's alive in you in that regards?
Oh, wow. There's so much. Well, why don't we share a little bit about, have you been in a what they might call a codependent or dependent relationship? Um, ooh, there we go. Something's going on there with my computer. Am I still there?
Yeah, you are still here.
Okay. It looks like the
Hello,
chat
Nate.
disappeared. Hmm?
I'm saying hi to Nate. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can't see the chat. Good. Nate's here. Hi, Nate. um, well, codependence. I mean, we went to the gym together, right?
Yeah.
And Valentine's Day, I'd say, the idea of the materialistic Valentine's Day and how people tend to celebrate these holidays is kind of a codependent exercise. Oh, what should I get on this prescripted day for this person? And I have to do it right. And if I don't do it right, then someone might be disappointed. And, sometimes people walk on eggshells with these kind of holidays. And people get gifts and then they can say that someone doesn't really understand them because they got them something they don't like. There's some old school or maybe young ways of looking at those types of things. And for Valentine's Day, what do we do? The same thing we do every other day, pretty much, right? Um,
Yep.
I think one of the biggest ways that Dre shows he loves me is we go to the gym in the morning. We support each other's
Mm,
desire to be healthy. We don't coerce or force each other. Sometimes he goes by himself, sometimes he goes with his guy friends. Um, I rollerblade, Andre doesn't. We have our connective points. We go when we feel it's alive in us, and he lets me sleep in when I don't want to get up. So I'd love
mm,
to bring up the definitions of all these things and how people can start co-creating their relationships in a way that makes them feel really truly alive.
mm. Themselves, authentic and real.
Themselves, authentic, yeah, and what did you say about not being a nice person, but being a real person in a
Yeah.
real relationship?
Don't be
Mm,
nice, be real.
mm, yeah. Huh, what if I'm pissed off, though, actually?
Then you're pissed off.
Yeah,
That's authentic.
yeah, it's true. Yes, and how do we go ahead and get over this part? So, what do you have to say about
Mm.
dependency, codependency, Valentine's Day, how people celebrate it? What's your definition? I know we've got some
Yeah.
juicy
I
books
like
to share.
to Yeah, I like to frame it in terms of attachment styles as I explore this. So that dependence is this anxious attachment where I'm only okay if you're okay. So I'm
Mhm.
looking to fix. I'm overbearing. I'm controlling. I'm trying to make things okay, right? So I'm going outside of myself because this person that's outside of me needs to be okay for me to feel safe within myself. So that's dependence from an attachment point of view. Independence is more of the avoider attachment style where, you know what, you do you, I do me. I can only rely on myself. Peace out, right? And is over reliance on the self without caring for the impact I have on other people. It's kind of like the obnoxiousness, right? Of like, well, that's your problem. And then interdependence is wholeness, this idea that I'm whole, you're whole. When we come together, life is great. I kind of talk about bonus time. I'm good. I feel good within me, you feel good within me, within you. And then when we come together, we create bonus time, right?
Mhm,
So it's like
mhm.
honoring each other's needs, caring for both needs, moving away from this idea of compromising, but sitting in this third field, this third way of steeping in of like, these are your needs, these are my needs. Let's come up with a third way, a new way to see if we can meet both needs. Versus the idea of compromising is like, well, dependence is like your needs, not my needs, your needs, right?
Mhm.
I sacrifice my needs, right?
Yeah,
Independence is like my needs. I want you to make me happy, right? I'm in this relationship for you to serve me, right?
what
What
they might
can you
call
do for
narcissism.
me? Some people go in relationships like, how can you add to my life, right?
Yeah,
How can
yeah.
you improve my life? Versus how can I serve? What can I give to this relationship? It's like, what can I get, right?
Oh, I
So,
love how you just
yeah.
said that too. How can I give to this relationship? Not even to the other person, to this relationship. Mm.
Mm, yeah. Noticing comment with from Jesse from the Facebook group. Says, for myself, I would rather do something nice on a random Tuesday than a day society says I should.
Yes. Thank you. I love that. When people give to me on a random day, when they just think of me, then I know they're thinking of me and they're not doing it because they should and it's a specific day. Yeah, exactly. Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like my definition from the attachment framework, because I think a lot of people are into that attachment style and can see them one way or the other. right?
I love
And
that.
interdependence is secure attachment, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I've been using ChatGPT a lot. I love how clear. So I put in, what is codependence? It's a relational pattern in which a person organizes their identity, self-worth, and emotional stability around meeting another person's needs, feelings, or approval, often at the expense of their own boundaries, needs, and inner life. It is a learned survival strategy where connection feels safer than authenticity. A person becomes highly attuned to others' emotions and behaviors, trying to manage or stabilize them, while disconnecting from their own needs, feelings, or limits. Mhm. So you said something, how can we meet each other's needs? And I love, actually, Bruce Lipton has the book, The Honeymoon Effect, when we're all elated and so excited, and how we can re-spark that interest over and over and over again, that effect of newness. And what that really requires is that we're aware of what our needs are. And most of us aren't. We've been brought up in a culture that doesn't, we might ask what someone feels, and they might have a few vocabulary words: good, mad, sad, bad. Often we have a very low vocabulary. But when it comes to needs, and I notice when we teach our conscious communication class, people are like, needs? What do I need? I don't know what I need. Wow. I didn't know there was such a thing. And needs really has this codependent, selfish, needy kind of connotation to it. Um, and it's really not that. Again, I know I've said this a few times. Marshall Rosenberg describes needs as words that describe the life serving energy that motivates and sustains us, what makes us feel alive. And that's why we ask the question every time: what's alive in you? I want to know what's alive in you and how I can serve you, Dre, because when I serve you and see you happy, boy, does it ever create this relational field that makes me happy. And then you have more energy and sustenance to know what you can do to serve me. And it just creates this upward spiral of what they might call mutuality or interdependence, those types of things, which is just so
Mm.
life giving for everybody who's in contact with it.
Yeah. I love it. It's for me innate. It's built in to serve. Like there's so much energy that comes back from true service without
Hmm.
wanting anything back. And it's this idea of like the nice guy being dependent is that I want something from you, right? I want your approval, your love, but I'm not being clear about it, right? I'm not communicating clearly. I'm doing things with strings attached. And then the independence is like when I'm hurt and I'm done with dating, right? I've been burned by the courts, and I'm like, I'm never going back. The red pill movement of masculinity. And interdependence is the integrative masculine, right? Of like, yeah, I do want to serve and I do want to give back to the community, right? This idea of like me going on my own rites of passage or initiation and then coming back is actually not for me, but it's for the community, for the collective to benefit from the fruits of my labor, from my gifts and my talents. There's sort of this satisfaction if I were to help out or build something and then the people get to enjoy it, right? And then, automatically what comes from it, right? This recognition, the respect, the praise, right? That's so fulfilling when I get to contribute from a place of like, I want to, and I get to rather than, oh,
Hmm.
I should, I have
Hmm.
to.
Hmm. Yeah, well, you were talking about contribution, the desire. It's actually a universal human need to contribute and to find meaning in what we do. And so it's just a universal human need to want to contribute, to learn, to grow, all of those things. There's nothing that we need to force in that. And I think we've all been brought up in different ways of how we relate to ourselves, our purpose, and therefore others, where we become codependent on a system that doesn't really work for us. And so, what else do you want to say about I love how you're tying in codependence and attachment styles. Mm, what about telling me? I'm curious because you had relationships before me. How were they for you? What did you notice? Because I know
Mm,
you were quite a people pleaser at one time.
mhm,
And then what happens on the other side of that? And
mm.
maybe share what you were expecting out of, I guess, being a nice guy or what you thought you were at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, society and the upbringings is baked in this culture of dependence, and dependence is what Marshall calls the domination paradigm. It's to obey rules by authority, right? And if we look at independence, it's more like fu authority. It's more that anarchist type of thing. And going back to dependence, it's like, well, I learned that for my needs to be met, I need to please my mom or my dad. I need to make them happy, right? So I couldn't be myself. No wonder Gabber talks about how growing up as children, it was life and death, and that I would give up my sense of autonomy and authenticity of who I am to belong. So I'll contort myself to get my needs met. And of course, I had no idea what my needs were. I didn't even know how to name them, right? Basic needs of like food, all that stuff. But then I carried this energy of my authoritative parents to my bosses at work. There's this energy of like putting them on a pedestal. And then when I witnessed, in order for me to be happy, I got to make them happy. This one quote that
Mhm.
came through was happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
Oh, just coming through me, right? Hey, Dre, in order for your life to be good, you got to make her happy, right? Avoid the landmines. Do what you need to do to make her calm, and then you be fine. Man, that is total dependence teaching, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
paradigm. So
Yeah.
of course, unconsciously, I tried that where I didn't have needs. It was all about her. So I gave so much. What happened? Well, I blew up, get resentful. I didn't know how to communicate what I needed. I wanted her to guess what I needed, right? To take care of me because I'm taking care of her. It's like scratch your back, scratch mine, right? And so we're just entangled and mesh in this particular dynamic. The this one dynamic where I was so attracted to was being the rescuer and her being the victim. All it took for her was to do some waterworks, and I was there coddling her, giving her everything, trying to make her feel better because I did something wrong. And his
Mm.
the belief of dependence is like, "Oh, I made you feel that way. I am responsible for how you feel and what you need." Right? And I also think the inverse is true. When I'm angry, you're the one that made me angry. And so you should pay
Mm.
by silent treatment, withdrawing my love. So I lived all of that until like I was done with it because I lost myself in the process. I became a shell of myself. I lost my sex drive because the sex was definitely connected to the level of resentment that I had that I couldn't name at that time. So I swung
Mm.
the other way of being, you know what? I'm going to just be a player, be a Mac daddy, just play around, no commitment. Not going to get into that again. It's not worth it. Especially seeing how divorce rates or hearing from other people how they're being treated in the courts with their kids, it creates a lot of jadedness and resistance to wanting to get back into a relationship or getting married. So a lot of people, a lot of men swing the other side. It's clear, right? I don't want that, so I'm going to do the exact opposite. So essentially, I'm swinging from one side to the other.
Yeah, the good old pendulum swing happens with any type of human behavior. And how do we learn to come back to middle? Comes back to trust, isn't it? Self-trust.
Mm,
When we're taught in school to get grades and regurgitate information, when we're not taught that our inner navigation system of our emotions and our feelings tell us that our nervous system is out of whack, we're taught to, geez, take medications to numb ourselves. We're taught to wake up at a certain time and work overtime and actually be slaves to a system that isn't really supportive of our nervous systems. And then we get into relationships and we do the same thing. We overgive, we might overshare to the point of resentment, then we're getting into fights. We're hearing from some different people and couples that we know. There's so much of a shift in human consciousness right now, and it's confusing for people. And sometimes it can get violent, what they would consider violent, right? All of this stuff is coming up and we don't know where to put it. And where does it go? It goes to the first person that seems to be in front of us. Um, I think there's a lot of shame that comes with that, but I actually think it's a very natural thing. When animals get backed into a corner, what do? They bite you. They get upset. And so there's a lot of people that go to dog shelters these days and they know how to approach a dog that has been backed into a corner. They don't go right up to them. They don't try to get them to do something for them. They approach them slowly. They make friends with them. They pay attention to their nervous system. We do more for animals than we do for our own human connection and for relationships, it seems to me. And we could probably learn a lot from that. But part of that is there's so much trauma and trauma bonding, and like you said, these attachment styles. And it seems to be this insurmountable problem that's gotten worse. Divorce rates are skyrocketing. I would say that lawyers are paid to divide people rather than reconnect them and teach them anything about relationships. But there's a very, I would almost say, easy way for people to reconnect on a real human level where we come alive and therefore serve others. And it seems a bit scary at first because it means we have to start paying attention to our own bodies and our own needs. And that seems scary when we've never done it. How am I feeling? This might overwhelm me. I prefer to keep busy, keep working, being distracted, rescuing. Like you said, I was a rescuer too, saving other people than looking at myself. And eventually that just creates more chaos and more problems. The instant we stop long enough to be present to what we need, we're then able to notice when our partner feels backed into a corner. And then we're able to also give to their needs and becomes this back and forth interdependent relationship because we're no longer desperately trying to prevent ourselves from feeling something we don't want to feel. I think codependence has a lot to do with that. A lot to sort of put band-aids over our trauma or our experiences when our nervous systems weren't able to have the capacity. But once we slip into this ability to tap into our own bodies and our own feelings and our own needs, the nervous system starts to do the work for you. Emotions run through the body in 30 to 90 seconds if we don't judge it, if we don't try to placate it, avoid it, repress it, and all these weird things we've learned to do with them. It's just like the children's nervous systems. They cry, they get upset, they get their susu taken away or whatever it is. They take a few breaths, they have someone to regulate with, and they're off running and playing again. Adults can do it too. Our nervous systems haven't changed their own regulatory way. It's just that we have all of these stories built in. So it's about dismantling the stories and learning to trust that we have that innate capacity because we still do. It didn't go anywhere. That's what I would say about it.
Mm.
Where does
Yeah,
that take you?
definitely trusting myself 100%. This just goes back to knowing myself.
Mm.
When I feel secure within myself, that's when I begin to love myself, right? This wholeness that I am whole and I can meet someone and attract someone that's whole as well. And then together we create that bonus time, right? I'm not dependent, right? And this independence of like, you know what? You take care of you. I don't, I don't want to bother you, right?
Hmm.
Comes without this care that I'm not caring for the impact I have on others. Yes, I'm not responsible for how you feel or your needs, but I can care about what impression I'm leaving you with, right? And that matters. Because Marshall says this quote like, Our survival of our species depends on our ability to recognize that our well-being and the well-being of others are in fact one and the same. Yeah. And that's the interdependence consciousness, the oneness,
Yeah.
the wholeness. Yeah. And I
That's
see
bringing
Naomi.
something up for me. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I
I
did.
just saw Naomi's comment, but yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I can't, the comments aren't coming through to me. It reminds me of, cool that Naomi's in here because she'll have something to say about this too, is the burden we believe we have on others, right? We've got this hyper independent culture, and everyone's like, well, I don't want to burden you with my own needs or my negativity and all of that stuff. Versus in the Soul Truth Academy or the Empowered Empath Academy for women, where we really start to learn, like, oh, when I can tap into myself and I can share my feelings and needs and what's going on with me real time versus the stories and the complaining, that's something different. That's draining. That's definitely draining. But as I can learn to tap into myself and actually transform anything that I'm feeling into insight, it's not a burden. It's one of the biggest gifts you can ever give to someone, to express what's alive in you in the moment and have this free flowing dialogue where you're both present and willing to hear what's actually going on for someone else. It's even bigger than a gift. It's like this eye opening, oh, this is how a human being works. This is how my body works. This is a conduit to everything going around me. And it actually all makes sense. I don't have to be confused about relationships anymore. I don't have to fight, force, and fix someone to give me something that I need. It's already all here. Oh, thank God. Yeah. What's Naomi got to say there?
Yeah. Yeah, so she says, "Yeah, I'm still working on layers of codependency, but I can't work on them until I'm actually aware of them, which is a process of time, layer after layer." And I recall on our Ask Anything workshop last Wednesday, Naomi shared an example where it's so clear night and day to see patterns through other people as people share openly and vulnerably of what's going on behind closed doors. And also, I'm like, wait a minute, they're putting language and understanding around what I'm going through as well. So that mirror, like you said, right? When we come into a place where we're sharing what's real, it starts to make sense. I start to see, I start having awareness to begin catching those patterns and then reworking them,
Hmm.
unwiring them, you know, noticing, wait a minute, oh shoot, I am codependent. Oh no. And then, okay, now that I have the awareness, I can see it happen in real time and start making
Hmm.
those little changes. One thing I'm kind of grateful, well, not kind of grateful, but very grateful, is that you and I, we met in a place where we've done our work before. So we came into a place of like wholeness, we came into a place of like, yeah, I've done my work, you've done your work, and boom. Rather than
Oh,
this
well. Mm.
connection of, well, I guess I'm gonna say I didn't come in with you being codependent, is what I'm saying.
No, I'd say, but I mean, the work's never done. So I kind of just want to, like, I've done my work, you've done your work. No, the work's never done. I've done a lot of work with you. And I don't want to discourage couples that feel like they're in the, like, oh my God, we're just at an impasse. We have to get divorced or whatever. We've seen so many couples find their way back through the mirrors that they give each other, and some really what look like disastrous circumstances, even toxic. Once they start to really have their perceptual shift and turn it back inwards, there's some really quick miracles that happen, and different types of insights that allow people to become interdependent in a relatively really quick amount of time. It's a paradigm shift. Um, and yeah, the work doesn't ever get done. We're always evolving. Having said that, I mean, yes, we did. It's there is a lot to be said about doing your own work before, if you're single, getting into a relationship. You're going to end up having just a way easier time of it, for sure. Well, I don't even wanna say easy. What would you
Mm.
say? It's not even easy.
Yeah, it's just the, I don't know, just accepting that the work doesn't stop, getting to know myself and how I'm showing up, um, and I'm just naming that we came in with some history, right? And a consciousness that keeps us together is this idea of a conscious co-creating relationship, fulfilling a purpose and a vision together. That
Mhm.
that's such a big anchor, right? And I'm just naming that like if I was with my high school sweetheart and I was unaware, there's a lot of ingrained patterns that have been baked in for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah. And to untether from that, yeah, it does require some time and patience. Yeah.
Although what we've noticed, and we usually like how I said the untie and untether, we usually talk about a big ball as if it's, the yarn you use to knit and it's got a few knots and you gotta untangle it. What we've noticed in our work, we call it facilian because it's facilitation slash mediation, is that you only need to find one thread, one piece of it, one argument, one thing, and you start to see the whole pattern and it just starts to unravel itself. Um, because patterns repeat in different ways and the different mirrors. And it's much easier than, I would say, what we've tried to do in traditional ways of unraveling that takes many, many years. It doesn't take long because the unraveling only starts with one end of the thread, and it's not hard to find one thread.
Yeah, I mean, let's speak to that, right? Why is it challenging for people to get out of their entrenched patterns, right? And one thing I'll speak to is when I get stuck in the story of it, when I
Mhm.
get stuck into a reality that's been distorted. And now with my partner, we're kind of debating what's right and what's wrong, and we're not being heard, right? I'm maybe approaching this challenge through my head alone, right? And what we're saying is like one thing you always say is I can't pick my way out of something that I fell into,
No,
right?
no.
Felt into.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Did I butcher it?
No, I just heard fell into, but yeah, felt is the word, yeah.
Yeah. So the feeling, right, of it, and so it's just like really following the energy trail and using conscious communication, tapping into the needs and the feelings, getting past the stories of what really matters, the essence, and then realizing that hey, you and I were human. We have the
Mhm.
same needs. Like it's a sense of ease that falls over the nervous system. That like you matter, you exist because I matter, I exist. And we can sit in the space of like, how can we not try to force it to come up with something with our heads, but just to steep ourselves in our needs. And then some third solution, some third image will show up of how we can care for both without, okay, I'll compromise myself or I'll never compromise.
Yeah, and that's, like, the other thing we come back to is that we don't believe in compromise either. Compromise, that means that one person's taking less versus there's always that saying that, the sum of its parts does not equal the whole, and so when we can bring two authentic fields, when people become very real together, they create this third entity. It's a universal law. We're part of nature, we're part of the universe, we're part of everything. And co-creation is about trusting ourselves and our authenticity. And just the most amazing, beautiful things happen when we're able to tap into that space between two people and see the patterns and allow them to, well, allow the nervous system to start righting itself in that space. And you're right, it does take a lot of like, there's a lot of identity shifts. If we've been in a relationship for a long time, there's an identity that we have within it. And it requires a gentle death. Like I've said before, I had one teacher who said, I've had 7 marriages with the same man. And our culture is very scared of death, not only physical death when we lose a loved one, but death of ourselves, letting go of these parts of ourselves that no longer serve us or the relationship. And often people will get out of a relationship to then find the pieces of themselves that they've lost or they haven't shed. But I remember having a couple of teachers when I was in my early 20s. It was this couple, and they had been alcoholics their whole lives. And they had a very dysfunctional codependent relationship. And I remember sitting there in just awe, watching them speak as they navigated out of alcoholism together. And so anything's possible. Um, I was just, and they taught together, and they found their way back to themselves. Having said that, you don't often just stay together and do it together. There needs to be some independent time where you can feel yourself well out the field of your partner so that you can find yourself in relationship as well as by yourself. So it's not just independence or codependence. It's like, well, how do I be in relationship and keep finding myself and my center while in it? And so I'm curious what you would say to that, Dre, and how you do that and what that looks like.
I mean, you love it when I go on to like winter camp, or
Yes, I do.
take off with the men and do our own thing, right? Because I'll let Summer speak to her experience of when I leave. And when I do those sort of things, like hang out with the men and go work out, even my room here, which is my sanctuary, I get reconnected back to myself and my alignment of who I am. And this idea of like, oh, I'm not enmeshed, right? Like that, moving far away from that dependence of like not knowing who I am and that my life revolves around you and making you happy. It's about getting to know myself and having that sense of respect, this deep self-worth of like, oh yeah, I am tuned in with my feelings and needs. And my work is in communicating that clearly to you, like especially I have a need for recognition, communicating to you that
Mm.
like, hey, yeah, babe, I love for you to, share with me, three things you recognize around the house that I did that was so fully meet my need to be seen and consider my contributions in this household, you know, because now like that's my need, right? And I love like how you shared it on the Facebook post the other day, a message of like what the things you recognize, and it just like, oh, it just warms my heart. Versus me doing it like sneakily by, hey babe, I washed the dishes. Hey babe, I cut the grass. Hey babe, I took out the garbage. And I'm like waiting for your
Do you
appreciation,
care?
right? Like it's like, oh, and you're like, you miss cleaning the sink. And I'm like, ah, right? Because I'm not being clear, right? Or I do all this stuff and I'm just waiting for you to appreciate me, right? And expecting it rather than communicating that clearly. So moving away from assumptions, guesswork to verifying, to communicating clearly. Yeah. I think I get caught. A lot of this dependence and independence is getting caught in story and assumptions of who I think my partner is,
Yeah.
and then placing that judgment onto that person that I have an expectation on them already. So if they fall out of lines on the boundary, all of a sudden I'm upset. And they're like, why are you upset? And I didn't even communicate it clearly, right? Even myself, I'm not clear on why I'm upset. I'm just upset because you don't fit the box of what I imagine you to be as a trophy wife, right? Or as this idealized mountain man that I want you to be based on Hollywood. So am I doing that unconsciously? Am I placing an unconscious image on you? And when you don't fit that image, all of a sudden you become my enemy and I'm making you pay the price.
Oh, I love how you said that. And I can't remember this quote. I think it's David Hawkins who says most of our relationships are in our head and our imagination of what we think that other person should be, and based on the stories we've been given about even we're talking about intimate relationships. What about families? What are our expectations of our children and what school grades they should get? And what's it going to look like if they aren't the child that I expect them to be? And do I take that as, oh, then I'm not a good mother if they don't turn out the way that I thought they would? It just leaks into every type of relationship. And it's so obvious to me that we're not actually in relationship. We're shooting everybody all the time based on the stories, based on the cultural conditioning, and not actually being in the present moment with the being in front of us because we're always evolving. That's why it's so painful. You have to be able to be present. And most marriages were built on roles. Yeah, I mean, it used to be the men's the breadwinner. Now it's kind of switching in a very interesting way. How do we come into a relationship that is soul based, that is soul fed, that has a purpose beyond the two of us? And I think people are starting to thirst for that, to want something beyond themselves that allows them to contribute something exceptional, something meaningful that comes from somewhere deep within them. And it's totally possible for people to have what you might call a right livelihood and together to bring together skills that aren't just for making money, but for changing a world, and having an impact that leaves a legacy of profound, um, I don't know what I want to call it. I don't want to call it change. It's just profound what's possible. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, soul led and co creating. Right? How does love want to be expressed through our relationship? What is our relationship yearn for? This third entity, you, and then this third that we're together co creating with. And I'm curious because I want to tie it back to when I leave for winter camp or I take off for a weekend. Yeah, how does that land for you? Like, what happens? And tell me the difference. Yeah, tell me the difference of when I'm there and when I'm not.
um, well, Andre's got a go-getter at. Um, Hyperachiever, restless kind of energy. He likes to get things done and he's very good at it. He cleaned the dishes today. He does a lot of things that keep things organized that I am not so quick at. And it's very efficient and it's very awesome. And when he goes away, and it's interesting because he sets an alarm in the morning and I'm like, I think I just want to sleep in. But when he goes away, I'm up at 6. I'm like, woohoo! I got freedom around here. I'm gonna go paint. I'm gonna go exercise. I don't have to worry about the structure and the energy of having to do. There's a doing energy that Andre brings, which is really, really important. But I notice the less pressure I have, the more I'm capable of doing. Um, and I think there's a lot of children these days being born, whether they're slightly autistic or dyslexic or neurodivergent, that it's like this time pressure, the cooker actually misfires me in so many ways. I don't function under it, and my daughter functions even less, oftentimes under it. So I get to enjoy me and my space. I don't have any like to-dos on the list. And if I want to get work done, I do. And I often refine myself. And you come back recalibrated, and I come and I get to hear what you have to say, and it's new and it's fresh and it's exciting. So yeah, I love it when you go away. I also love it when you're here. Don't get me wrong, and you know that because
Hey,
we have a
yeah, I
ton of
feel
fun.
good. Like I love it when you're in alignment, babe. So when I come back and you're fully alive, I love that too. Right.
Yeah.
So that's where that interdependence, like I'm not being offended by it. I see
Yeah.
how um this gift that it comes with her being in alignment that gives back to me. I so want that. I want her to be her best self. I want her to be her whole self because I'm impacted by that. Right. So how can we go into that place of like, yeah, let's create our own time as well, right? Allow us to do what we need to do to get back into alignment. And so then when we're together, we can be our, whole ourselves, right? That bonus time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know I was in at least 3 other relationships where it seemed like my ex-husband and a few like they had no friends. Where did they go? I was begging, "Please go play pool with your friends," trying to set up play dates for them, almost like a mother, I guess, because their entire world was me. It was so draining, and then, they didn't get a lot out of life, and the depression set in, more drinking, whatever, like, I'm like, "You didn't do that when I started dating you." And so I think there's this place where people get into relationship and then, their friends drift away or they, lose contact with people. And some of that's natural, but there needs all relationships, they need attention. I don't want to say work. They need attention. More people put more attention to their car and the maintenance of their car than they do on their relationship um, with themselves or others. And so, eh, eh, people always say, "Oh, Susie let herself go," or George let himself go. Right? They just stop caring for their inner garden. You can't let a garden go, and then it gets all these weeds and stuff. You need to keep doing that for yourself. It's not something you can let go. Yeah.
Yeah, requires care, tending to. Yeah, to check in, you know? I change, you change, life changes. And, that's why I love our, empowerment rituals every day, checking in what you're most grateful for, what are you feeling, what you're needing. It's ways of realignment, getting back in
Yes.
tune.
Yeah, everything comes as chaos. There's always things to do. There's always obligations and duties and cars and breaking down and accidents and layoffs. How do we self-clean each other every day? Yeah, and we do have these empowerment rituals. We can PDF them. Actually, maybe we should put them in the group for people. And it's so helpful to me because after a busy day, I kind of forget what I did. I don't know if I'm in alignment. And we often ask ourselves,
Mm,
what did you do today to serve someone, Dre?
mm,
Or what are you most grateful for? Or what are the things you do tomorrow that will move you towards your goals? What are those?
mm,
And I go to sleep at peace because I already know what I need to be doing. And I realize, wow, what an amazing day I had. And I can confirm that to myself versus just on this steady treadmill and we don't know where we're going and we forget how long we've been
mm.
on it.
Yeah, presence, interdependence requires presence, attunement, right? Rather than the dependence of people pleasing, right? Making everybody else happy instead of me, or the independence of I'm gonna ignore, right? I'm just gonna abdicate, let things just drift off and create chaos wherever I go. And so presence, attunement, back into alignment. And yeah, going back to like where do I go, right? Going back to myself. Like I gotta know what's happening for me, man. Right. And and by me honoring myself, modeling that, I invite others to do the same. And now we can step into a co-creative space of how we can make life more wonderful together. Isn't that cool? Is what's so a big marker of safety for me is when someone is so in tune with their needs of what they need, what their boundaries are, that I can trust if they make a decision that it's not going to blow back on me, where they're projecting their own shit on me and they're feeling resentful. Because the people pleaser is going to feel resentful to me, and I'm going to pay, right? I'm going to pay a price. Yeah. So if someone can say no or say yes and it's clean, oh, it creates safety for me, man.
Right? Yeah, I know there's some mistakes you've made with I can't remember what, a car or some kind of thing. And you're like, "Oh, I did that.
Yep.
I'll take care of it and I'll pay for it." Even though it was my car. It was great.
Yeah. Taking responsibility, right? Like
Yeah.
I do want to make that decision myself. There's a part of me that king energy of taking leadership and it's kind of like dying by the sword. Like it's my sword. If that decision goes airy, I'm gonna take responsibility and accountability for it. Right. I just want to make the mistake if there is gonna be a mistake because I learn from it. I love like I'm not wanting to make mistakes. Like give me more mistakes, please.
Well,
Though I embrace it, right? When it happens, it's just a great teacher, right? Failure is such a great teacher. So yeah.
yeah, I mean, speaking about going back to that quote, I think it's from David Hawkins that most of our we're not in relationship. We're projecting some kind of figment of our imagination onto other people. Most of our relationships play out in our imagination versus alive with others. And if we're, I mean, we're all acting essentially. So Hollywood, they all do mistakes, right? Take one, take two, take three. And it's so funny in our lives that we just don't allow ourselves to, like, okay, well, let's do an experiment here. What if I behave this way? How does this feel in my body? Or what if I do this? We're always like too scared to even make a slight move. So afraid. We're living in this paradigm of fear rather than expectation and experimentation and curiosity. There's so much to be mined in the heart of one human being. And if you've got one in your life, even though you might have projected an enemy image and your stories are all messed up and combined, there is gold to be mined in there. Let me tell you, I've seen it so many times. We've seen people who have been people pleasing, overdoing for others, overworking, confusing stuff. And as soon as they start to tap into themselves, they go, oh. And not always both partners can do it and work it out, but I've seen if those partners can, they make the best, most powerful relationships they are because they know how to transform some of the most what what's perceived to be the most difficult or toxic relationships into something that is extremely life-giving and powerful just by finding the one thread that they can start to unravel and see themselves. It's so life-giving.
Yeah.
Even though it looks so messy at first.
Yeah. Yeah. It's life changing because it changes the lens I see my partner in a relationship.
Mhm.
Like all of a sudden I have a different set of glasses and everything from before is viewed from a different perspective. That's powerful, right? What is this enemy image I have of my beloved? Like, where does that come from? Why was that projected onto them, right? Because now we're just butting heads. We're not working together as a team. How can I clean that up? How do we have each other's back? Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah. So when I can tune into what I'm feeling, what I'm needing, and have the skill and bravery to communicate it, then I give the other person the opportunity to meet me and do the same,
Yes, the
right?
opportunity to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Often we're not offering our partners the opportunity to meet us. When we're overextending ourselves, when we're doing these things, there's no opportunity to be seen or to be met.
No, it comes off as like resentment, or it
Mm.
comes off as coercion or manipulation. It comes off as this energy that I need to submit, which is dependence, or rebel, which is independence.
Yeah. Yeah, submit or rebel when we make demands of others or we place unconscious expectations of
Yeah.
others. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
demand energy, right? Because as a pleaser, I'm like giving so much with this string is attached, right? So I'm
Mm.
expecting you to get back to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an unlearning more than learning any new skills, it's an unlearning of the old stories we have about ourselves, relationships, and a returning to I would say it has a lot to do with our nervous system and giving it labels that is normal. People are normal. Um, I see mostly it's the judgment and the labels and the diagnoses and the things that cause the problems. Um,
If I'm
one of
attached to it,
yeah, I mean, there's a one of Naomi's colleagues is an IFS gentleman, and he was studying psychotherapy in one of the schools and had a client, I guess, and was invited to discuss and share. And well, he just lost his wife, so he's grieving. And they actually decided to label it as an attachment disorder instead. And he's like, no, no, no. His wife just died. He's grieving. It's a grief process. No, no. It's an attachment disorder. It's like everyone wants to label everything these days. Um, and he eventually just left. He's like, that isn't how I see it. That's not how I want to do things anymore. I don't want to judge and label people and put people's in boxes because then I can't be with him in his grief. And I see so many people doing these things. They have to label and fix because there's this idea that if we control something, we're safe. And I get it, because a lot of us grew up in survival. So if we controlled something, then someone won't blow up and something won't happen. But we've evolved past that. People now can return to their nervous system safety. There's some overt control out there in the world, but people now know, you know what, overt fighting and bombs, they're gonna avoid all that. There's new ways being created within the human being and the nervous system.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those labels when I attach to them, I can imagine myself compartmentalizing myself, hiding parts of myself in her locker, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
fragmented, right? I'm not myself. Depending on the situation, I'll show different sides of me, different masks. And the intention of the interdependence is the integrated masculine. It's the wholeness, the completion. I in my men's work, we always say it's a rescue mission, not a witch hunt. It's a reclamation of who I am, all of I am, bring it back to
Mhm.
myself with compassion, with grace. That's a big piece. Because if I'm operating from an orientation of like, I'm not good enough, I should be stronger, should, right? Then I'm coming from shame. I'm beating myself up. And that's potent too. That can get stuff done 100%. To prove, have a chip on my shoulder, it comes with a cost. My mental health, my inner critic, my judge gets louder. The evidence that I provide through my results doesn't seem to quell that inner critic. It just gets louder. And then I'll realize, wait a minute, it doesn't matter what I do. He's never happy.
Mm-mm.
I'll keep working on this hamster wheel until I'm in the grave, 9 inches deep into the ground. And so I
Yeah,
realized in
that's
this work, it's like, man, moving from the shame-based motivation into like care, care-based motivation, and that's needs awareness.
yeah, away from the adrenal fatigue and burnout to just life-giving contribution to oneself and therefore everybody else in our lives.
Yeah.
So much easier and more peaceful.
And when I'm eased and at peace of myself, how do I treat others? What's my
Kindness.
impact? Yes, I have capacity for kindness.
Mhm.
I'm less judgmental. Because like when I'm judging myself for not being good enough, not working hard enough, guess what I'm doing to other people around me?
Yep, exactly.
It's
Mm.
demand energy, causing people to be slaves, submit or rebel.
Mhm. Yeah, it's time for us to find freedom within ourselves, to explore all parts of who we are as a human being within ourselves, in relationship to us in the world. We can be free, we can be authentic, and we can belong, both, as Gabor Mate says.
Hmm.
And it's very freeing to know that other people are safe.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. So as we come to a close, there's a couple resources that we want to share with you and recommend.
Yes.
Coming from me is a book called "Don't Be Nice, Be Real" by Kelly Bryson. Check that one
Hmm.
out. It's based in the work of Marshall Rosenberg, nonviolent communication as well. The idea of like, yeah, being real, sharing what's really alive in me is what really deepens and helps us be in alignment with ourselves and get clear and move us into this place of interdependence.
Yes. And then we have another book, and I just dropped my notes. Loving Him Without Losing You, Getting the Love You Want, Loving Him Without Losing You. What's the first part?
That's it. Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the main
that's it.
majority one. Yeah.
Right.
By Beverly Engel.
Isn't Angelus, but just Engel? Starts with
Yeah.
an
Just
A,
look it
right?
up. Loving Him Without Losing You.
Yeah, it's a fabulous book. Hmm.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right.
Awesome. So, any last comments?
Uh, no, I'm looking forward to this weekend with you. I don't know
Mm,
what we're gonna do, but yeah.
yeah.
We
Mm.
are not going out for dinner and fighting the crowds on Valentine's Day. That is one thing we're not going to do. Mm-mm.
No, no. But we do have day plan on Sundays, so that one's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. double
Yeah.
date with some friends. It'll be fabulous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, Melissa. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, being with us.
Hey,
Received.
Melissa.
Yeah. So as we close out here, like and subscribe at Relational Wisdom on our YouTube channel. We also have some other videos, some reels from our past lives. Yes, you can also watch our past lives there too. And if you're not a part of our Facebook group, reach out to Relational Wisdom. And this is where you get access to our information, our, what we're involved with in terms of consciousness, our free workshops every month, and our upcoming offerings when we have coming up. Here is Conscious Communication Level 2, starting Thursday, February 26th. I believe we have like one seat left to fill that cohort. And after that, on March 3rd, which is a Tuesday, is Conscious Communication Level 1 course. Yeah. So if that interests you, shoot us a DM, myself, Andre, or Summer. Until next time, Dre, peace and out.
Bye, everybody.